Perfect, Chike. Let's get straight into it. For those that are watching, we have an insane breakdown, and I'll let Chike introduce himself first. Just give us a little bit about what you do, Chike, and no insight into you before we get into it.
Yeah, so right now I'm a closer. Obviously, I have my other entrepreneurial businesses that I do on the side too, right? But right now, the main focus right now is closing, right? And I've been closing for about like a year and a half now. Kind of before that, I was an entrepreneur. Prior to that, I'll get a little bit more into that a bit later. But right now, I'm really just on my journey, trying to sharpen my skills, kind of be the best, sales rep I can be for the company that I'm currently on, thanks to Innovate, and just kind of taking my journey from there.
Okay. Yeah. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is AJ. I have two companies, the Concierge and Innovate. And in the first company I started, I was able to amass a $5 million client portfolio in a span of 8 months. Transition into this newest company, Innovate, that we're going to get a lot of insight from Chike on how he leveraged it. But yeah, no, Chike, to be honest, I'm not going to talk too much about obviously what you did with Innovate, because obviously, yeah, you made some money with Innovate, but I want to talk about your future and what we're
Yeah,
going to get into later. But
yeah,
I'm going to structure this for the people watching. I'm going to do your background, right? Go into where you started, how you initially was making money, and then when you met Innovate, your experience with Innovate, and then the future and the outlook
yeah,
um, for you right now, because you're a serial entrepreneur. You're not just a closer
yeah,
and public side.
yeah.
So touching up on your background, let's go into that first. Give me a little intro, more in depth into that, where you started and why you got into business in the first place.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously when I first got to like starting with high school, right? I wanted to be in the NFL. I wanted to play football. That was the main thing, right? I didn't pay attention to business. That was something that was far in the back of my mind, right? But then when I was like 17 years old, I got my first job. That was like the COVID era. So football season was like, short. So I had some time. I was like, you know what, let me just get a job, right? So I can make some money because I want to buy stuff that I just couldn't buy otherwise, right? So I got a job at Top Golf, Top Golf, right? I got a job there for like 3 months, right? And then I was just like, you know what? My best friend got fired, and we were like two pods in like whatever the phrase is, right? But we were always together, right? And they always grouped us together. So he got fired. They came to me and was like, "Do you want to leave too?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm leaving. Like, I'm not gonna stay here while you guys are there." And while he left, right? So what I decided to do, and what he decided to do, my father was like a serial entrepreneur as well, really big into real estate, had like hundreds of units, right? I want to follow that path later down in my life. But I was like, you know what, let me start my journey early, right? Let me actually start business. The first thing we can think of was the lowest barrier to entry. Didn't have capital for real estate. So we were like, you know what, let's start a service-based business, right? Let's start a painting company. So I started a painting company when I was 17. And then I was like, you know what, how are we going to get jobs? How are we going to get leads? So we went on Nextdoor, we went on Facebook, we went on Craigslist, believe it or not, to try and find jobs. And our whole slogan was like, help young high school students, save up money to go to college, right? And then through that, we got a lot of jobs, we got a lot of leads. We actually started building something that was like reputable within, the area that we're at, right? And then with that, we had that for about 4 years now. We've made like almost 1.4 mil at total. And now it's just in a position where I was like, you know what? I saw people online and I saw the kind of lifestyle they were living. Right now, when I was doing the painting company, I felt like I was kind of an employee to my business, right? I didn't really feel like I had that, entrepreneur's lifestyle. So I was like, I like the online lifestyle. I like what it looks like, right? Let me try and let me dive into that and kind of see what that can bring for me. And that's when I started looking into online money making things. There was trading, there was wholesaling, there was SMMA, the whole 9 yards. You're probably familiar with all of them, right? And I was like, I like some of these. I don't like some of them. Let me try, wholesaling. Did wholesaling because I was like, you know what? That's a segue, real estate sales. I kind of like the two of those, right? And then I was like, you know what? It's not for me, right? And then I was like, what can I purely focus on that can give me instant, kind of reward based upon the skill set I already had? And that's when I experienced and kind of found out about, high ticket sales. So it was about June where I started doing outreach to some influencers, some course creators, the online gurus, right? To see if they had any, availability or space in their sales team for another closer. I kind of skipped the whole appointment setting thing. Didn't really feel like that was for me. Went straight into closing, right? And then I was like, I got on a few offers. It took me like 30 days to get on a clothing brand offer. That offer wasn't the best, right? Because it was a pretty unsophisticated, there was no sales process, pretty unsophisticated business. They were at like 20K a month. But the thing was, like, I was playing multiple hats. Like, I was a sales consultant, I was the closer, I was damn near the appointment setter, I was the marketing department, right? I was kind of doing consulting and closing, and it wasn't really the best situation for me. So I was like, you know what? Let me leave. Let me go to a different offer because honestly, this is not where my talent can be best utilized. I decided to go to an e-commerce offer. Australian founders, so I was, staying up to like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to take calls in the US, in New York, when I was
Yeah.
talking to Australian um, prospects, right? I didn't believe in that product. I didn't really believe in, kind of what they were selling. And their sales process was super unsophisticated, didn't really give me any pathway to actually being able to see the success that I was looking for. So I decided to leave that as well. And then my next offer was kind of where you and I got introduced, me and Innovate got introduced, right? Where you were able to kind of put me onto an offer with Nat Chansala. That was a pretty good offer too, right? But it was a situation where, the growth rate wasn't the growth that I was trying to pursue as well, right? We were trying to grow at different speeds. So I just felt like it was best that we parted ways with that offer as well. I went on to close for another offer that you also put me on to. That was a great offer. But then, the opportunity that I'm on now was kind of presented to me, right? And it's something that you just can't pass up on, right? And that's the offer that I'm currently on, currently making like $8,000 to $9,000 a month with that. And, the growth trajectory for that is honestly, I wouldn't say infinite, but it's high five figures a month, right? Multiple five figures a month. And honestly, thinking back on my journey so far, it really wouldn't have been possible otherwise. If I really weren't have to get into contact with you, I would literally just had that conversation with my sister the other day. I was like, it's crazy. What if I didn't meet AJ and Audie, right? I was like, what if that connection didn't arise, right? What would my journey look like at this point? Because a lot of people don't understand that closing and the opportunities that you get are not majority of the time not through outreach, right? You can only outreach so much to find a good offer, right? Majority of the offers that are going to pay you multiple five figures are found through either placement or are found through network, right? I just happened to find mine through obviously you guys. And honestly, thinking back on it, how would I have been able to get an onto offer like this? Or would I have just stopped closing because I thought, the industry was filled with offers that I had when I first started? That's kind of my background. That's kind of what brought me to the point that I'm at now. Obviously, I know you want to go more in depth about that, but it's kind of my situation.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. You made my life easier, giving yourself that great introduction. Yeah, no, actually, some of the stuff I actually didn't know about. So that's how you know this is a raw interview. This is not planned. I did not know some of this stuff. So
Yeah,
that's actually news to me.
yeah,
Um, but no, so just to recap, obviously you started off in the service-based business, painting, right?
yeah,
This in the closer, the offers that you were reaching out to ended up being terrible, and the offers that
yeah,
I ended up putting you on ended up excelling your growth a lot. Now you've been stacking cash for a new company that we're going to talk about later in this interview that I
yeah.
want to talk about too. But because you're going to be talking to a lot of existing sales reps that go through that exact same issue and why I started um, Innovate.
Yeah.
Right. Touching back on, I want to touch on that service-based business that you started, because obviously you said your revenue was like 1.4 million. Um, how much did you actually profit from that business, and how long did it actually take you to set up like everything from like start? And then I don't know if you've currently stopped it, but what was like the most amount of money that you made with that, and how long it took you?
So I had a business partner, like I mentioned. My business partner to this day with a lot of my businesses is
Yeah.
still my best friend. We had a good partnership going. When we first started, we saw instant results. Like, I mean, the second week, like we were getting jobs immediately, right? That first year, we did a little bit over six figures, right? And that was split between the two of us. Profit margins were pretty high because we were owner operators. We were doing all the work. We didn't sub anything out yet. That was just our first year. We went fully onto it, right? Obviously, that was my first year of college as well. I went part-time so I can focus on that too. And then after that, I kind of moved into more so a backseat role. Like I was also trying to grow the business while also still being in it, right? So the profit margins were sitting around like 30 to 35% as we were actually growing the business, right? We started investing a little bit more into marketing. We started investing more into actually like a team lead. And when we say team lead, for the most part, it was either my best friend, my business partner, or we would hire like a temporary project manager to oversee the projects, right? And that's when we would start subcontracting a lot of the work out to actually be able to, consume a lot more jobs because realistically, we wouldn't be able to do all the work. So let's say from that 1.4 in total, we would have profited anywhere from like 300 to $400,000. I have to look at the numbers to see exactly what that would be like. And then obviously,
And then you
have
split that.
split that being a business owner, yeah.
Okay.
Being a business partner, excuse me.
And how long did it take you to achieve that as well? Like was that in 1 year? Was that in a year and a half, 2 years? What was that like?
So that was about 3.5 years worth. No, thinking back to it, no, we profited a bit more than 400. It was a little bit more than 400, but that took about 3.5 years. And then we decided to kind of pivot, right? Because we looked at the long-term trajectory of the business, right? Okay, we're in a service-based industry. This is not going anywhere. This is basically recession-proof, right? However, once we get to a point, let's say we build the business up for the next 5 years, we get it to, let's say, $5 million in top line revenue. Okay, what after that, right? Do we want to do this for the rest of our lives? Do we want to own this type of business?
Well,
The real,
that's a lot of work to go into a business to keep the margins that you were doing with what was going on. And that's also something I want to talk about. Like, walk me through the challenges you were facing with that model. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, it seems like you were making good money with that over the course of the 3 years, right? Because you're putting a lot of time into it. But what were the biggest challenges that made you want to transition into online space with that model? Because I mean, there could be a painter, that a company that's watching this that would want to do
yeah, I mean, honestly, it was like I mentioned earlier, I was an employee to the business. I was always there. I always had to be physically present. I had to always actually go to the estimates. I had to always bid the jobs. I also had to oversee for the most part, unless we had a temp project manager in place, which rarely happened. But realistically, I was the one that was managing everything. And then another thing that people don't realize, they may think service-based businesses are amazing, but you have to, just like in the online space, you have to deal with client relations. Homeowners are a bigger pain. Like homeowners are a bigger pain, especially when this is something that's their prized possession. A lot of homeowners view their house as their only investment opportunity, so they really take pride in it. And when you have to adhere to every single small nitpick that a homeowner has to kind of, relay back to you, it's a toll, right? You don't really want to do that every single day. That's why I was like, you know what? I really want to be able to go online, you showcase my skills, showcase my talent without having to deal with that other operational side of things. And
that.
that's why I was like, let me transition. Because with closing, I can close anywhere, right? When I went to Jamaica a couple months ago, I could have closed in Jamaica on the beach, right? But I know I couldn't really manage a job from Jamaica. I could, but realistically, the point of where my business was at in that moment, I couldn't. That's why I wanted to transition to the online space.
Yeah, it's a more leveraged way to get the cash flow that you need upfront initially, without all the hassle, right?
Exactly.
They'll start their businesses, they'll start whatever their hustles are. I don't know what it is, but ideally, that first year, 2 years, 3 years of entrepreneurship is all about cash flow. Stacking up your cash flow, you can start the bigger picture, which is what you're in right now. I'm actually
Yeah.
excited for you. But the biggest thing I'd say for you, yeah, it was the workload to the profits that you were making for 400 over the course of like 3 years. You're profiting like, yeah, that's that 200K spread out across 3 years, still making good money, but you decided to make a transition into closing, right? And let me talk about, because there's going to be sales reps that watch this. Talk about the pain points before you met Innovate on trying to actually make the model work.
Yeah. That honestly, like, when I was painting, because I literally stopped painting, like I literally stopped being an owner operator when I started doing outreach. Like it wasn't like, oh, I stopped for months and then I just transitioned. So I still had that feeling of, oh my gosh, like I really don't want to put up with this anymore. And then I transitioned that feeling into closing, right? And it was a situation where I was like, okay, there's a lifestyle that's being portrayed. You're in Miami, you're doing this, oblivious to the fact that half of that isn't reality. Right. And then when I actually got into closing, I was like, you know what? Let me actually take an approach from this and be like, okay, let me have an open perspective. Let me see exactly what the space is about. And then I got into the space and excuse my language, but it was ass. Like, it didn't really give me what I was looking for. It didn't really like kind of show me the entrepreneur lifestyle where I can,
Yeah.
do whatever I want to at whatever point I want and still make kind of the same money I was making painting. Right. Cause I didn't quit the painting company. I still had it, but I took more of a backseat role and kind of delegated a lot of the work out, gave my business partner a little bit more ownership to be able to manage that so I can actually pursue something like closing. My first offer where I understood marketing for the most part. I understood sales. That was my specialty, right? And I understood biz ops. He utilized that to his advantage. And I don't blame him because any smart business owners are going to do that once they see someone that is capable, right? But realistically, when I was aware 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I was consulting him for free. because if I didn't consult them, I wouldn't get any viable leads that I can actually close, right? I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, you know what? Yeah, this is not for me. Let me part ways. Let me just leave, right? And then you start to visualize and you start to think like, okay, this industry that everybody's glamorizing, right? Because this is your first experience. This industry that everybody's glamorizing, is it really what it's actually meant to be? Like, is it actually what people are saying it is, right? And I thought it wasn't for a second. And I was like, you know what? Let me keep pushing. I'm not going to just quit after like 2 months, right? Because typically, even closers or aspiring closers that try and outreach don't even get roles within 2 months. So I'm like, maybe I'm doing something right. Maybe I'm doing something right. Right. Next week after that, I started doing outreach again. I think 3 weeks later, I get onto the ecom offer, like I was mentioning to you before, for the Australian guys. I was like, okay, they said I can make 20K a month. You know, that was the OTE. Like, you know, everybody, it's basically like a business owner selling you on, you know, being a closer. And I was like, okay, this is kind of more in line with what I was seeing online. You know, I just have to close, take a couple calls, you know, see what that looks like. I get onto that offer and I'm starting to look at the product and I'm starting to like kind of see student results. And I'm like, I don't really know if this is something that's because a lot of people don't understand that you just can't close for anybody. You have to have conviction when you're closing to actually believe in the product, to actually sell it to the best of your ability. Right.
100%.
And then I was looking at the product, I was looking at student results, and I was like, I don't really believe in this product. And this was like about 2 weeks in, right? Because I'm getting acclimated with the offer, I'm getting acclimated with kind of the scripting that they forced me to use, even though, you know, it wasn't the best, but I'm getting acclimated with everything. And I'm starting to look back and I'm like, I don't really like this. And I don't really feel like I believe in this product enough to sell it. And then not only that, the lead flow wasn't the best, the lead quality wasn't the best. So I was like, you know what? Let's part ways. And now I'm getting this kind of repeated pattern of offers not being good, wasting my time, not making as much money as I thought, not living the lifestyle that I thought and I imagined for myself once the online space. And now I'm kind of in a position where I'm like, you know what, this might not even be worth it.
Okay,
Right.
let me actually pause you right there before you go on, because that's huge because you're coming from a space where you just generated $1.4 million with your own business, your own company,
Yeah.
right? But then you hopped into closing to get a more leveraged model, right, to make the exact same amount of money, and you're talking to CEOs that were probably dumber than you, like running offers that were probably worse than yours, right? And this is one thing also it's just reality. I'm just gonna say it. Like you're not gonna get on an opportunity where you can make 10K a month unless the company's actually good. It doesn't matter how good you are as a closer, an appointment setter. If you're in sales, if the offer sucks, you're not gonna make money. If the company
Yeah.
you're with sucks, it's not gonna make money, right? High
Yeah.
ticket sales is a great vehicle, which you're experiencing right now once you land a good role. And that's something that's one of the reasons why I started Innovate was for two reasons. One, there weren't enough founders that were making at least 100K a month. So if they were to hire a closer, 10% commission, industry standard, that closer would make 10K a month, right? That's backed by stats. There wasn't enough of those. And it was when I got into the space, it was just a lie. I got lucky because I ended up, getting in with some really good people.
Yeah.
But for most people, they'll be stuck in outreach for months, going through Facebook groups or LinkedIn trying to get hired, and you're cooked. You're not
Yeah.
you're
It's
not
not,
gonna make any money. It's
it's not gonna work. And it's crazy because I don't know how, but through my journey of, can you still hear me?
yeah.
All right. I don't know what happened. Through my journey of kind of going through my closing journey, right? I've had so many people that reach out to me, how do I get offers? And I'm not really like, you know, too online and kind of portraying like the closing lifestyle or anything like that. And by any means, I don't know how they're really getting my information or contact, but they'll reach out to me and say, how did you get on an offer? How are you doing this? How are you doing that? And honestly, I just give them the same advice that I always give, that I give myself, honestly. You just have to not be retarded. Like when you're doing outreach, like you just have to not be retarded, or you know, do the smart thing and pay for placement, right? And when people always ask me, right, I always recommend you guys because it's a situation where, okay, look where I'm at. If you want to be where I'm at, follow the journey that I did, right, and I took.
Yeah, let's touch on that for a second as well, so we make sure we get everything in this interview. Like with your experience with Innovate, walk through me how seamless it was for you to even get on your first offer. I'm not gonna talk about the next two, even your first offer when you first contacted me. How seamless was it?
Yeah, so it was a situation where I got on a call and I onboarded onto that offer, right? And then you were obviously the one that was doing like you were managing this like the sales team at the time. and we just had I don't even remember what it was like. I think we had one call, and we just jived immediately. And it was a situation where you were like, obviously to vet me to see if I was a good closer and things of that nature. But after you actually understood that, it was literally like I think 2 days process of me actually getting integrated within like their sales system and their sales process, understanding it, ramping me up to the point where I can actually start making money immediately. Because a lot of people say, oh, it takes 3 weeks to get ramped up, takes 90 days to get full ramp up, right? That honestly, I just don't believe, because it's been shown to me that obviously that's not the case, right? So I literally got ramped up and onboarded
with
within 3 weeks.
you and that's why I started Innovate as well. The second issue is I needed world-class talent that is reliable, that I can be placing in these companies that are generating 6 figures a month, right, on a run rate to hit 7 figures a year, 8 figures a year, right, which is invaluable to a business owner as well. Because I think with that first offer we ended up doing like 20K launch day with you, right, just you being the sole closer, which is insane. um right, but with that's one of the reasons why like the business owners like that's hard to get access to. They're gonna go, if they're gonna hire someone, they're gonna go to Facebook, and that's just not the case, right? But I knew from day one you already had the skill sets, you had your background, right? So that 48-hour turnover time for you to make your first dollar, it's only because you already had a high
Yeah,
caliber skill set that I could instantly
yeah,
use in your company. And that's why I started to Innovate. I only want to be working with people like yourself that
yeah.
have these skill sets that I could instantly trust to represent my brand, my company, right? But yeah, no, walk us. So how much did you end up doing I mean, because you were there for a short time, because I'm going to talk about this after you answer this question, but you were there for like 2 months, 1 month,
1.5 months, if that.
1.5. Yeah, because it wasn't you that was the limiter, it was them, right? So how much did you end up making on that first month?
I think it was like either like 5K, I think. I believe it was.
Yeah, I mean, which is also not to shortchange everybody, but not a lot of closers even make 5K
Yeah,
um, in the high ticket space. So that's good, but
yeah,
that's nothing to us, right? With where you're at right now. Um, the reason you parted ways was because like the offer, the lead slowed down the company, right? It wasn't
yeah,
really you. You had the skill set to go out and make like 10, 30K a month, but the leads weren't there, right?
yeah.
And then kind of same thing with the second company. It was a good start. I think you got placed that next month, didn't you?
Yeah, it was like I think it was like less than a month. Then I got placed on that next offer. And then like within the first like 11 days, I had like a 98% close rate. And I think we generated, how much was it again? I don't remember.
It was about 50K a month within
I
the first.
think like 50 or something like that K in like 11 days or something like that.
Yeah,
And that
insane.
was that offer. And then, obviously it was kind of same situation, right? The longevity, right? It's great when they first launch, but it was the longevity and the lead flow long term was kind of the
I mean,
limiting
and then
factor.
I didn't even have time to manage the offer because I was supposed to come in and consult it, but I ran out of time. So we could have scaled that offer really, really big if I put more time into it. But I think what everyone else wants to know right now is where you're at today, the company that you're on. I know we can't say too much about it because this company's on a run rate to 8 to 9 figures, easy. Like this is a really big company.
Yeah.
How much are you currently making a day or a month with this offer?
Yeah, so last month I believe it was like 8 or 9, and right now we're in a process of and when I say this, I can actually like believe it because I know it's going to happen. We're actually ramping up to actually get to the point where we're making with like spread across the closers that are on that offer like 20 to 30K a month, right? Consistently and reliably, right? Because it's a situation where like kind of the second offer that I placed you on, right? You can make a lot of money in a short time frame, but okay, what does that look like long term? What does that look like over a 6 month horizon, right? If that's not something that's consistent, it doesn't really matter. Because sitting on a bulk amount of cash for just 1 month is great, right? And like I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned this, I didn't get into closing for the money because I had money, right? But it wasn't a situation where I wanted a situation where I'm going to be making 20K 1 month, 5K 1 month, 20K 1 month, 5K 1 month, or just zero, right? You want consistency, and that's what this offer is kind of providing.
Yeah, which is insane. 20 to 30K a month is not something you're gonna find on Facebook.
Yeah, no,
It's not
definitely,
something you're really gonna find on
definitely not.
like that. Yeah, right. So no, for that offer, just so all of the other existing sales reps people can understand this as well. How much have you generated this company in the span of a couple months?
I believe now it's sitting right above or right in between like 400,000.
Okay. That's insane. Insane. And well, this is also why I started the companies because that's invaluable, right? There's a reason you got hired. There's a reason you got placed because you can generate a company $500,000 in a couple months. You have a skill set, right? And people will pay top dollar for that and want that and need that. It's hard to
Yeah,
come. You're not going to find someone on Facebook to generate $500,000 in a couple months
definitely not.
without going through 6 months of hiring, firing, and people churning and leaving because your business sucks.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But no, it's insane your experience with Innovate. You're able to hit a run rate of 20 to 30 km. I don't even know what that is
What is
right
that?
now.
I think that's like a year.
Yeah, like you're $250,000 a year, like over actually. It's about like
Yeah.
$300,000 to your run rate right now.
And
So
that's honestly, don't mean to cut you off, but when you think about the sales side of things, like the rep, right? That's amazing. But when you think about it from a founder's perspective, especially being someone that, like you were mentioning, I'm obviously starting other things, pursuing other endeavors. When you think about it from a founder's perspective, that
yeah,
type of talent is really invaluable, right? Or not to toot my own horn or anything like that, but just being able to have access to people that can come out and produce is invaluable because a lot of the times founders are not, the best at sales. They're not sales oriented for the most part. They're product or marketing focused, right? But they lack on the sales side. So to have someone that can come in and not only on the like fulfill like talent, right, but fulfill infrastructures to actually be able to help that talent even make any money is super important, right? Because without infrastructure, the sales rep is can't really do anything, right? Without a sales process, the sales rep can't do anything. So be able to provide both is super valuable because it gives them a sense of I can focus on my marketing and have my sales be dialed in to actually close the deals, right? So it's a plus for the sales rep and for the actual company that's actually getting the service.
oh, you might be giving up too much now. Don't be exposing me now, Chike.
Right.
Okay, no. So this is good. So let's recap before we go into the future and what I want to talk about. And for a lot of the founders or aspiring founders, they're going to take a lot of inspiration from your story. Obviously, you had a background of you were experiencing a lot of workload for 3 to 4 years, taking margin cuts. The output wasn't worth what you were putting in, right? Transition into closing, terrible first experience with closing on the first couple offers that you landed, got connected through Innovate, experienced what it was like to actually live that entrepreneurship high ticket closer lifestyle of making money from home, 10K a month from home. First offer broke because, the company, it just happens. Second, same thing. But the third company that we were able to place you in directly, you didn't have to go through 6 months of hiring, of people vetting you, because you don't land a company like that without going through a 2 month hiring process.
Yeah.
But I was connected with the people on the inside, got you placed as one of their closers immediately. Ended up you were top closer one of those months, yeah?
I believe it was my
First month,
first month.
first month, yeah.
First
Insane.
month.
Insane. So you represent and innovate very well. Appreciate you for that. And then you're experiencing what it's like to hit a run rate of $300,000 a year within a couple months, which is insane. That's just a recap. Now I want to talk about the outlook for you, Chike, with the little time that we have left, right? Because now you've taken this skill set that's invaluable to generate cash flow, which is what a lot of people want to do. They want to stack cash, end up making some penthouse money, some Lambo money, right? And is what you're doing right now. So kind of walk us through what's the outlook for you now? Because you're a closer making 10 to 20 to 25K a month, right? Which is your run rate. What are you doing right now that I guess you can give some insight onto why you really got into closing and what you're doing with this cash flow?
Right. This is going to give me, what I really wanted to kind of get into closing for, additionally to obviously the location freedom, the financial freedom that can come with it, right? But it's really to get a good insight into these businesses that are actually making, these large amounts of money, six figures a month, whatever the case may be, on the online entrepreneur side, right? I understand the brick and mortar businesses, the service-based businesses. I'm pretty heavily connected when it comes to, people that are making 8, 9 figures within their service-based businesses, right? But it's a situation where I didn't really too much understand the online side of things, right? Similar, but not the same. So I did want to get an in-depth view of, okay, what does their back end look like? What does their operations look like? What does their marketing look like? What does their sales process look like, right? So I can internalize that and be able to create something of my own. right? That can also service, my bread and butter, which is the service-based industry. Right now, from that painting company, we still have that subdivision, but now our main focus is roofing, right? Because roofing can give us that, opportunity to take an exit, let's say 5 to 6 years down the line. So then, like I mentioned to you before, I can funnel that into real estate. That's the main goal for me. Section 8 properties, real estate developments, new construction, depending on the area, right? That's the main goal, right? Being able to have a business that's sellable, which is the roofing company, being able to have a business that can cash flow, which is online entrepreneurship, and then being able to have a long-term investment, which is at the end of the day, real estate, right? That's where I'm at right now. That's kind of what I'm configuring in my mind to pursue. I'm actively pursuing it now, but obviously it's a long-term approach. And that's really the main reason behind getting into high ticket closing, right? Because a lot of people ask, if he's making good money with his home service based business, right? I mean, he can probably stick it out, figure it out to continue to make more money, right? Why did he get into closing? It's more than just the money, right? And everybody that's known me through my journey has known that, right? It hasn't been too much about the money. It's been more so about the education. It's been more so about the experience, right? To take that experience and do something with it in the future. A lot of times people, want to get into, let's say, starting a six-figure, like you see it all the time, glamorous six-figure agency, blah, 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 whatever the case may be, but no, nothing, right? They don't know anything about a sales process. They don't even know what a sales process is. They don't know about product. They don't know how to fulfill a service. They don't know about marketing, right? They don't know about anything, right? And then they just want to jump into it. That's not the proper way to do it. You need to learn the ropes however you can, and then be able to actually implement after you learn the ropes.
It is a No, that is a very, very good point in this entrepreneurship game, which is a misconception of people thinking that it's going to come easy, right? They're going to come out their first month, smack $1 million. They're going to get the pent. They're gonna move to Dubai, right? They're going to get the rolls, the lamb, everything, the lifestyle, and it's just not the case, right? In your case, you took a strategic approach within the past couple of months, and you almost, I want to say, you use sales as like a Trojan horse to back what you really wanted to do. And this is why, and this is one thing as well I want to talk about, because it's not really a model at all. It's a skill set. It's sales. It's something that's reliable, something that's tangible, that's something that can apply to other avenues of making money. It's not dependent on trends. You're not depending on trends to make your money right now. You're not depending on a product, a setup, trading, clicking a couple buttons, right?
Yeah.
It's wholeheartedly dependent on you, your skill set, right? And then obviously just finding the right opportunities. Nothing like you could go out, come back to me, lose everything, and make money tomorrow. Again, just be
That's
at 5K.
that's the exact conversation I was literally just having the other day with this friend group I have, also entrepreneurs, right? I was like, listen, if all else fails, right, like, and everything just goes to nothing, roofing, my online thing, real estate, everything goes, I can always rely back on sales. Like I was like, I can always call AJ, like, yo, AJ, like I need an offer to close on, right? And
Yeah.
always come back to making, close to 5 figures or 5 figures plus a month, literally the next month, right? So that's kind of what I was like, this is an invaluable skill that you will never lose, right? But if you just try and shortchange everything and you just kind of cut corners, you never really gain the skill to actually be able to always capitalize on.
Okay. But yeah, so to recap that as well, you're going crazy. You're pursuing different avenues now that you have this cash flow, which is what I recommend to a lot of people. If you're trying to make money online, don't start some stupid model where you're going to spunk a bunch of money and just never attain actual skill sets. It's going to help you start a real company from the get-go in the first place. Build something great, start it right. Don't do some bullshit that's going to provide some short-term monetary gain. Start something real. And no, Chike, it's crazy. I'd say I have a couple more questions. We're gonna come to the end of this here soon. We got a lot of good insights from you, but I want to ask a couple more questions. If you had to start from scratch again, right? From year one, before starting that service-based business, what would you do differently with your experience now with high ticket closing? And then let's say, even if Innovate existed on year one as well, and if you knew about me and Audie, what would you do differently? How would you approach the game?
That's a that's a great question, right? And I'm thinking, I'm sitting now, you're making me think like, okay, would I have gone straight into sales or would I still have started the service-based business, right? Because the service-based business did give me that intro into business. And I did leverage that knowledge about business within my sales journey, right? But then thinking if I knew you and Audie, you guys would have put me in a position to learn because I did pick some things up from you guys and you guys are able to sharpen sales reps to the point where they are successful, right? honestly, I probably would have just gone straight into sales, right? If I would have got straight into sales 4 years ago, imagine where I would have been now, right? Obviously, I probably wouldn't have been a closer still, but where would I have been now? And
You're
that kind
retired. You're
of
retired in Jamaica. You wouldn't have to take any more calls. Right?
yeah, I honestly think that I would have just gotten into sales, right? If I knew what it was, I definitely would have just gotten into sales. But 4 years ago, it wasn't even something that was too, widely known at that point. I probably would have just gotten into sales and honestly would have grown from there. I would have stayed strictly within the online space, like online entrepreneurship space. Still done real estate. I always knew about that, but it would have just been online entrepreneurship. And you can make a lot of good money from there, right? But I definitely would have taken the path to sales. I wouldn't have to go through the troubles of learning a business model, learning how to fulfill,
Yeah.
doing some relations with homeowners. Sales is a skill set where you can just literally talk to someone like I'm talking to you right now, sell them on something that's actually going to change their life, and then be done. You're not doing fulfillment. You're not handling product. You're not handling, customer service. You're just talking, getting the deal across, and then you're done. On to your next call. And then after that, at the end of the day, you don't have to think about anything. You just thought about the, $1,000 cash collected you made today, right? Or, $1,000, $10,000 cash collected, whatever the case may be. I would have just done that, honestly, thinking back to it. It'll have been a lot easier.
Okay. Well, I mean that's a crazy insight. Everyone else in the space is lucky that I wasn't in the game 4 years ago. Otherwise, I would have killed.
That's what I'm saying too.
Um, but no, okay. So, we're gonna come to the end right here. All right. So Chike, or sorry, for people that made it to the end of this video, if you guys want to recreate Chike's success, right, from going from experiencing obviously small margins from like 3 to 4 years, which he gained some skill sets when he applied to the closing world and ended up making 10K a month within his first couple months and on route to do about 20K a month plus and hit a run rate about $300,000 a year. If you want to recreate that success, I'm going to leave a link in the description for two things. One, I'm going to leave a link for all of my free resources where you can learn for fucking free. You have to spend thousands of dollars on some bullshit ass fucking terrible 50-minute fucking course or 50 module course or whatever. You're not going to learn anything. And that's bullshit. Don't spend
Literally.
money. I will give it to you for free, please, because I actually need you to be good. I actually need more good sales reps, and people that are talented to place in businesses. Because so I won't charge you anything really for it. And then two, I'm gonna leave a link in the description to book a call, to understand if you want some clarity on how to recreate GK success. Okay, you can talk to my team. Okay, and we can have a conversation, see if we can help you out, point you in the right direction. Okay, and then lastly, okay, if you are a founder, which Chike is about to be, that is doing 100K a month plus. One of the goals for me is to partner up with 500 to 1,000 founders that are doing 100K a month plus within the next year to 5 years. Okay, so if you're doing 100K a month plus, I would love to talk to you about your offer, your company, see what we can do together, see if we can do business together. And no, just to get some insights. I'm gonna also leave a link for you to book a call in with me personally and have a conversation. So no, Chike, I appreciate you for hopping on. I hope a lot of people got some insights from you. And no, we'll see you guys on the next one.